Today, I thought we would take a look at acceptance and gratitude through the lens of four quotes. So let's take a look at the first quote. First quote is by the Canadian country rapper named Dax. My glass is half empty, but I still might sip it. Now, this comes from his song The Abyss, where he talks about struggle, he talks about overcoming struggle, he talks about avoidance, he talks about the abyss. The name of the song is where he goes to hide all the things that he doesn't want to think about. In the context of the song, he says, my glass is half empty, but I still might sip it. So there's two pieces to this. The first is my glass is half empty, okay, but no matter what happens, I still might sip it. So he's talking about the famous glass half empty, glass half full idea. Now, in the world of optimism versus pessimism, the old idea is that if I give you a glass of water whose volume is twice the amount of liquid, and I ask you to describe it, if your default reaction is to say this is half full, they would say you're an optimist. Because your default response to say is to focus on what is there. You're focusing on, the water. It's half full. On the other hand, if you take a look at that same glass and you see it as being half empty, you're seeing what's not there. That's more of a deprivation focus. So an optimist is focused on what's there. That's half full. A pessimist is focused on what's not there. So it's half empty. This test doesn't work for people like me, because I'm not here that says, well, it kind of depends. How did this thing start? If it started out empty and we started filling water in it and now it's halfway full, because the direction is that it's going full. On the other hand, if it started full and it's draining, or I'm drinking it, it's going towards empty. So it's half empty. So it depends to me on which way the arrow's going. Is it filling up? Well, then it's half full. Is it emptying? Well, then it's half empty. So people don't talk to people like me. But the point of the quote is that regardless of what is in the cup, there's water there, and I might sip it. So it doesn't really matter how much water is in the cup. I want to drink what's there. There's an acceptance play here. He's accepting whatever is in his cup. He's accepting the cards he was dealt, which leads us into our second quote. From Randy Pausch, we cannot change the cards that were dealt. We can only change how we play the hand. Now, Randy Pausch is a computer scientist. He passed away, but he was diagnosed with cancer, given, 2 to 3 months to live, I think. And in that time, delivered a speech. And his speech was commonly referred to as the last lecture. And this is early on in the lecture. And he says, we can't change the cards we're dealt, only how we play the hand. And if you continue with the transcript, he then says, so it's something to the effect of, if I'm not as sad and morose as you think I should be, sorry to disappoint you. Because he's accepted his cards. So your cards might be something crap. You got 2 diamonds, 1 club, 1 spade, 1 heart. That's it. You got nothing even close to each other. This is a tough hand to play. Depending, of course, on what game. I didn't tell you what game we're playing. So that matters too. But whatever your cards, the cards are shuffled. And I'm assuming this is done fairly. The cards are shuffled and then they're dealt to you. That's completely random. So you get your cards and you can't control it. You can control. You have full control over how you play the cards. So it's worthless to spend time, spend energy thinking about how much my life would be better if only I was dealt that Diamond Royal flush, or how much my life would be better if I didn't have these crappy cards, or if I had more water in the cup. So it all comes down to, what can you control? What's in your control? What's out of your control? What's out of your control are the cards that happen, the cards that come, the cards that are dealt to you. You can't control that. So it's not worth your time worrying about. What is in your control is how you play the hand, is what you do with that hand. And what do you want to do with that hand? That brings us to our third quote, which is from Theodore Roosevelt. Do what you can with what you have where you are. And there's many versions of this quote. There's many versions of all of these quotes, I imagine. But let's focus on the three parts, the middle and the last part. With what you have, where you are. These are the pieces that are out of your control. What do you have? Your cards, how much water's in your cup, etc., and where you are. Accept that, and then do what you can given those two things. So you might say, well, what does that mean? Do what I can. How do I play my cards? How do I sip this water? It comes down to your potential. What is your potential? Well, that's a rectangle, an empty rectangle here. But this represents your potential. It represents what success means to you. But you have to be the one to define that success. Is it a bunch of money? Me and other people like me would tell you that's incorrect. That's a bad way to think about it. A lot of fame, successful family, having a bunch of adventures, raising decent kids, whatever it is, you get to decide this. And then you get to go about trying to fulfill that potential. It's how far you've come from where you started that counts, not your absolute place in life. In other words, if you're nearly fulfilling your potential and somebody else who may have more of what you defined as success, but is not fulfilling their potential, you're better off. Okay? Do what you can with what you have where you are. And that brings us to our fourth quote from a poet named Rudy Francisco. He says, it doesn't matter if the glass is half full or half empty. There's water in the cup. Drink it and stop complaining. This comes from an amazing poem, spoken word poem. Go on to YouTube and watch it, called Complainers. And this brings it full circle to what Dax was talking about. My cup is half empty, but I still might sip it. It doesn't matter if the glass is half full or half empty or a quarter full or a quarter empty or 3/4 full or 3/4 empty. Stop complaining and drink the damn water. Right? So there's water in this cup no matter how you define it. You've got cards no matter how you define them. So it doesn't matter if it's half empty or half full. You can use that water the best you can to fulfill your potential. So if you're having this argument, it's half empty, it's half full, I should be better, I should have worse, that person shouldn't have more. You have to step back and pause to see, is this a good use of your time? Because think of life like an hourglass, where the sand in the top of the hourglass, I call it a life glass, is the remaining life. And then the sand in the bottom chamber is the life that you've lived. Those are your memories. Of course, you don't know how much sand you have up top. The present moment is the middle, where the remaining life turns into the life lived. But this is it. There's a finite number of sand there. So if you're wasting your time worrying about what cards you have or how much water is in your cup, you are wasting your life. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. You can't change the cards that you were dealt. You can change how you play the hand. It doesn't matter if the glass is half empty or if the glass is half full. There's water in the cup. Drink it. You can't, your cup might be half empty, but you should still sip it. Live your life. You get one life. Live intentionally.